Okay, so this is part 2 of 5-6. Sometimes I have to record these videos in 2 parts because otherwise it just takes so long for them to upload. So hopefully you paused it because I think at the end of the last video I said to pause it and I wanted you to try this section. So what you have to do is determine if this is an ordered pair. So this is going to be your X and your Y. So you're going to plug in your values into this left side. So we're going to plug in 3 plus 2, and we're basically going to test if that's greater than 5. Now notice 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 is not greater than 5, which means no, this is not a solution, okay? So what that basically means is because this is a greater than and does not have the bar underneath it, chances are, if you were to actually graph this line out, it probably goes right through this line. So it actually would probably be going just like this, but all the solutions would be up here. Okay, so it just means that because the line was dashed. Had the line had the bar underneath, I would have said yes. So it has to make it to be a true or a false statement. So let's try another one, and you'll probably see it right here. Notice if I plug 5 in for X and 3 in for Y, I have to test it. So that's 2 is greater than or equal to 2. Now remember, it's an or. It's greater or equal to. It doesn't have to be both. So then you'd say, yes, this is a solution. So again, I know that this is not the same line, but what it's basically telling me is this point is probably right on the line. Now, when you get it to be significantly, say, different, so for instance, we'll just try this one, okay? If we plug -1 in for X and 2 in for Y, now, it doesn't have to be necessarily significant, but when they're different. So this is -1 plus 4, so this is 3 is less than 4. See how these are different? It's not 4 to 4 again, see how they're different? That means this is a solution. So if you were to graph it again, this ordered pair would maybe be just beyond the line. Like it wouldn't be super far away. It would be like right here. So it'd be close to the line, but it wouldn't be far away. Now let's say you came up with like 10 is less than or equal to 25. If you were to graph that, let's just say you have the solid line, boom, like this. See how these are super far away? That probably means the ordered pair is far from the line. So the closer these are, if you had a 10 is less than or equal to an 11, that just means this ordered pair is closer to the line, something like that. Okay, so it's not a big deal. You just have to test them. If you want to try number 5, and then, number 4, I don't have to do all of these, but 5 times 2 plus a -2, so that's 10 plus -2, so that's 8. 8 is not less than 7, so I would say no, this is not a solution. Okay, so if you want to try them, this one comes out to be a no, this one comes out to be a yes. Okay? All right, now remember I told you there's 4 parts to this lesson. The second part is can you graph them? So if you notice this section, these are all either going to be verticals, see this is a vertical, or they're going to be horizontals, okay? So we'll just do a couple of them. It says Y is less than 4 because it does not have the bar underneath, so I'm going to go up to where Y is 4, and I'm going to do a dashed line, and then because it says less than, I shade below the line. Okay, so remember, anytime it's just Y, those are horizontals, and anytime you have X only, those are verticals. So I'll just try, actually, let's do, this one doesn't have the bar. It just would be solid if it had the bar. There's no Y that has the bar. All 3 Y's don't have a bar. But I can do this one. Y is greater than -1, so I go to -1, and I'm going to do a dashed line, and then I just do greater than, so I shade above. Okay? All right, how about a vertical? So you're going to go X to 3, so you're going to go where it's 3. Now it's vertical, and notice there's no bar underneath, so I'm just doing a dashed line. And it says X is greater, so then I'm going to do all the points bigger. Does that make sense? So I'll do one more here. We have X is less than or equal to -1, so I just go to -1. Now because there's the bar underneath, this time I do a solid line. Okay? And now it says x is less than, so I want all the numbers smaller than -1. So I just want to shade this side. So verticals and horizontals aren't too bad. You just have to remember which one's which, okay? So we're just going to skip these other two for now. And then let's go to page 161. On page 161, if you notice this set, none of these are the verticals and horizontals. They all have an X and a Y in them, okay? So the first two are both in slope intercept. So these ones are going to be a little bit faster. So we're going to go to our intercept, and we're going to put a dot on 1. We're going to do our slope. So we're going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1. Now, you really only need 2 points, but if you want to do more, you can do more. But because it's no bar underneath, I'm going to go ahead and do dashed. And don't worry about if your line isn't super straight. I know I'm using a ruler, but it's not a big deal. Now, we have to do y is less than. So we want to shade below the line. Now, this can be a little confusing because this is such a steep vertical line. So this is where we talked about over here, where we highlighted, where you test a point. So if you don't like the shading part, what we'll do is we'll test a point. Now we can pick any point that doesn't touch the line. So I can still pick 0, 0. Or maybe we want to pick right here since 0, 0 is so close to it. Maybe we want to pick right there. So this is 1, 0. So if I plug 0 in for y and 1 in for x, notice I get 0 is less than 4. Because that's a true statement, then I know I shade over top of the point. Okay? So there's two ways to know how to shade. Is it the less than symbol or is it the greater than symbol? So the greater than would be above the line and then the less than would be below. What's hard is when they're steep. If this line was more like that, it's easier to see the below, but it's only because of the slope. Okay, so on this one, I would go to a +1, and then my slope is down 1 over 1. And notice it's got the bar underneath, so I'm going to do a solid line. And then it's greater, so then I just shade above. And if you want, you can pick a point. Now this one, you could probably pick 0, 0, because it doesn't come close to it. So if you plug 0 in here, so I get 0 is greater than or equal to 1. That's a false statement. What did I do wrong? Oh, hopefully you guys caught this. I just caught it myself, but now I wrote in pen. Hopefully you caught this. Good thing here that I noticed it. This is a +1, so I should have started it up here. I should have started this line. I apologize. I should have started it right there instead of down here. I didn't even notice that till I was just checking it. So down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. That's what happens when you write in pen. That's okay. Hopefully you guys caught it. You're smarter than me and you would have yelled at me in class. Notice now, see how this is false? So I want to just shade up here. I want to shade from this line beyond. So this shouldn't be here. Okay? Sorry about that. Hope I don't confuse you on that one. Now, when you look at 15 through 18, notice they're not in y equals. Now, we have two options here. We can either put them in y equals or we can use the cover-up. The problem with the cover-up is it will tell you your intercepts. So for instance, if I cover this up, that means x is 2. So that means x crosses at 2. If I cover this one up, then I get y to be -2. And since there's no bar underneath, I know it's dashed. The problem with this is, how do I know which way to shade? Because if you look at this, do you see how the negative is by the y? When I solve this for y, and I divide by the -1, remember, with inequalities, when you divide by a negative, you reverse your sign. So that would be y is greater than. So that actually means I shade up here. So that one can be a little confusing The thing that I can tell you, this is what I do. If the y is negative, I know I have to reverse my sign. See down here how the y is positive? That means the sign will stay the same, so I shade above. See how it's positive? I'm going to shade below because it's less than. So if you want, you can put these in y equals, or you can do the cover-up method. It really doesn't matter to me. So how about this one? If I solve this for y, that's -3 minus x. So I start at my intercept, and then I go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. And then this happens to be solid. And see how it says the greater than, so I shade up. Now, you can do the same thing, only you can use the intercepts. So see how x would have been -3, so x would have been -3 right there. So it's going to get you the same graph, you just really have to watch your shading, and it all depends on what this middle sign is here, okay? So if you want to pause it and quick try 17 and 18, just to see if you know, getting the right picture, that would be great. Okay, hopefully you quick paused it. Let me just run through. I really like intercepts, so the x-intercept, if I cover that up, is 4. The y-intercept is 2. I connect these with a dash line because there's no bar underneath, so I've got a dash line going here. And because this is a positive symbol, it won't change that, so then I do less than. All right, this one, I'm going to cover this up. That's 6 divided by -2, which is -3. That's 6 divided by +3, which is +2. It's not have a bar underneath, so I got to do a dash line. And because it's the greater than symbol, and this is positive, it's going to stay put, so it'll be up here. So I really like the cover-up method, but that's totally up to you. You can solve them for y. Just notice because they have a coefficient in front, it's going to take a little bit more work, but there's no reason you couldn't move the x to the other side and then divide by 3. Okay? So that is the second part. Now the two other pieces here, one is story problems, and then the other part is writing the equation from the graph. So I'd actually like to do this since we just talked about graphs. Now you don't have this in your student journal. I don't know why they didn't put it in your student journal, but they didn't. So if you've got some room, we'll be writing down here, so you might not want to take this up, but maybe if you can squeeze it over here, or if we had a little bit of space on a different page, trying to just look real quick. Maybe even on the bottom of page 159 where it says notes. If you want to try some of these on there, that would be really helpful because these are in your homework and they are on the test. So I know you're not going to necessarily be able to probably draw this perfect on your paper, but you do have to be able to write the inequality from the graph. So when I look at this, I need two things. I need my intercept and I need my slope, which is the two things we've been doing all year. So if I look at my intercept, that's at -1. If I look at my slope, it looks like I go up 1 and over 3. So, whoops, my slope is up 1 over 3, okay? So I know that this is going to be 1/3 x minus 1. And I know this is dashed, so there won't be a bar underneath. And notice it's shaded above. So that means it's the greater than symbol, like that. Sorry, it was kind of close in there. Okay? So you're really looking at the three pieces, the slope, the intercept, and then what about my symbol? Okay? So how about we go to this one? Hopefully you're answering these before I am, and if I was there, I would be asking you, but since I'm not there, then I have no one to ask. So I've got my intercept right there, so my intercept is 0, and then my slope looks like a good crossing point. It's right here or up here, either one. Notice this is a negative line, so it's going down, so my slope is going to be negative, and it goes down 2 over 1, so 2 over 1. So I know my equation is -2x Now, if you want to do +0, you can. Most people don't. Most people drop that. I know I'm going to have the bar, so I know I'm going to have the bar because it's solid. Now, this is shading below, okay? Again, it's easier to see when it's not such a vertical line, but this technically is shading below because if you look, there's more of the positive y-axis this way. So this is going to be the less than symbol, okay? So why don't you pause it here and try number 18D. Hopefully it's showing up large enough on the screen there that you can write it. So just pause it. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, hopefully you paused it. You've got the intercept there to be a +2, and you've got your slope, notice again is negative because it's a negative line. Notice it's just going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, so we have a -1, okay? If you want to put -1x, you can. A lot of people will drop the 1 and just put x plus the intercept. Now, since it's solid, I know I'm going to have that bar, and because it's shading below the line, it's going to be the less than symbol, okay? These are not in your student journal. I don't know why. Again, I didn't make the student journal, but these are in your homework, and it is on the test coming up on Thursday, okay? All right, we only have one more problem to hit up. So you got to go back to page 161, and it's this story problem. Now, the story problems aren't too bad. You really do have to graph these ones, but you can just use the intercept. So it's kind of like what we did back here, okay? All right, number 19, it says, an online store sells digital cameras and cell phones. The store makes a $100 profit on the sale of each digital camera X and a $50 profit on the sale of each cell phone Y. So right there, I'm thinking $100 per digital camera and $50 per cell phone, just from that alone. It says, the store wants to make a profit of at least $300 from its sales of digital cameras and cell phones. So they want this to be at least, so greater than or equal to 300. Now it says, write, which we already did, graph an inequality that represents, so we just have to graph this. So X was our digital camera, and Y was our cell phone. The easiest thing to do to graph this, because the numbers are so large, is just do the cover-up method. So I've got 300 divided by 100 means my x-intercept is 3. Now 300 divided by 50 is 6. So my other intercept is 6. I've got the bar underneath, so I'm going to connect this with a straight line. And it says I have to be greater. So basically what that means, see how it says identify and interpret? Basically what it means is as long as we sell in this area, now granted we can't sell half of a camera, but as long as we pick any numbers in this area, we're going to make our profit margin. So we want it, that's our profit. If we were to pick an over here, so if we only sell 1 camera and 2 cell phones, that wouldn't be enough. So when it says give 2 solutions, you get to pick any 2 you want from over here. Now again, if I was in class, I would ask you, but I'm not there. So like let's say we pick 5, 5. So that could be a solution. Now, if we were to plug those back in, okay, so if we were to type in 100 times 5 plus 50 times 5, we need to make sure that we have a profit of over 300, which clearly we do. Okay, so you can pick any 2 in here you want. So this is sort of like if I sell 5 cameras and if I sell 5 cell phones, then I'm making, over the profit of $300. Now you don't have to write all that out. I'm just trying to explain it to you. So just pick one other number that falls in this area. And again, if I was there, I would ask you, how about 8, 2? There's tons of them you can choose from. You just can't choose this little triangle wedge. okay? So this is on what we call just one inequality. What tomorrow's lesson is going to be is they're going to put these two on the same graph. So you're going to almost have less graphs, but the same number of problems. They're just on the same one, okay? So hopefully this wasn't too confusing. I hope everything goes well today. Please be on your best behavior, and I'm hoping I'll see you soon. Thanks.